Go ahead and fill me in on Roxy.
Yeah, so I think the biggest concern, there's always a few things to work on, but the biggest concern is she's gotten more like unpredictable, I would say like aggressive in the way of like growling and snarling at certain people and sometimes dogs in certain situations. And she never used to be like that. Like she loved everyone, loved every dog, loved playtime. So I've been trying to like pay attention to when it's happening. It's definitely more so when she's on leash. If someone comes up to her in a way that she can't sort of control, like from behind her, or sneaks up on her, or she can't read the person, like they have sunglasses and or maybe a mask on, or aren't saying like, "Hi, puppy," or something like that. And so she'll sort of snarl / growl and lunge towards them, and she won't like do anything like try to bite. She'll sort of just jump up, and then if someone starts like petting her, she's fine. But obviously we don't want this behavior at all because there's not always dog people around. So that's kind of the main thing I want to focus on. And there's a couple other things here and there. She does it sometimes with dogs too. She's gotten a little more, I don't know if it's like protective over us or what's going on, but that's kind of the 5,000 foot view, I guess.
Yeah. Anything else you're looking to address with Roxy, or anything you know about Roxy?
The other things I jotted down, I'm just pulling out my list, that bikes, if bikes are coming up towards her, she gets really freaked out and will like, again, lunge and snarl at them. And then sometimes touching her back, like petting lower towards her, like closer to her butt, but sometimes she's so cuddly and wants you to touch her. And we did introduce a second dog into the house, Pepper, who also goes to daycare there. Gosh, how long has it been? Maybe 5 months ago. And they love each other. They can't get enough playtime. They're obsessed with each other. We have to purposely separate them. Roxy is surprisingly very patient and submissive at home, but when we go to the park, it's like she beelines into Pepper and all she wants to do is play with and sort of bully her at the park, which is really interesting. So I don't know if it's like there's no rules, we're not in the house anymore. And the other thing, which I feel like is probably something with a lot of dogs, is jumping up and kissing. She always wants to go for the mouth with people. So those are the main things. Obviously, the aggression is number one because that's super just concerning. And we used to bring her, everywhere and never have issues. And it's sad. I don't want her to be unpredictable, and I want to make sure that she's feeling comfortable in whatever situation we bring her in.
When did this start again? Snapping it and growling at people?
I'd say probably, gosh, I guess since we've had Pepper 5 months, it's got to be like early this year. It probably started, but a little bit less frequent.
Okay.
Than it is now. Yeah.
And then, what happened the first time? Like, what was the context?
I'm trying to think.
Or the last time.
Yeah. What was that?
Or like the last time it happened.
Like we were on a walk today and there was a bike that was coming towards us and she lunged towards the bike and growled. And same with one person. And some people she walks right by and it's totally fine.
Okay. And what about dogs? When she's walking by dogs, does she care about the dogs really? If they're not interacting with her and the dog, does she care about the dog, or she can move forward?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. If like I'll try to avoid leash greetings because I know they're kind of awkward. Because she'll either want to play or she won't like it. So she'll either try to, after they pass, kind of go behind and like check out. You know, I try to only do really greetings off leash, like at the park or something, so she has, you know, ability to move around. Sometimes it's totally fine. Sometimes she gets a little, you know, does the little, like raises her lip a little bit. So I don't know if it's like starting to get possessive over me or things, which I can start to pay more attention to, but it's honestly just hit or miss sometimes.
Okay. So yeah, what we see from Roxy now, we haven't seen that in a long time, where she would like show her teeth or snap or anything at dogs. Um, she definitely do see her like pick on Pepper here and there, but she now plays with the other dogs. Pepper is still a little unsure, just kind of timid type dog.
Mm-hmm.
But then now we're even seeing if she can come up with like actually, because they boarded here, and I remember like Pepper started to open up more just because she was spending more time here with the same dogs that were also boarding with Roxy and Pepper. So she started to open up more, and because before she was very like this, tail tuck, kind of like, whoa, what are you trying to do? The dog was simply just trying to smell Pepper, but she was kind of like unsure. So then as time went on here, and just in general, she became more confident, like, oh, you're just trying to play.
That's good. I'll have to tell my sister owns Pepper, and I own my fiance and I own Roxy, so I'll make sure to give her that feedback. Because I remember when we talked about Roxy, and you're like, if you brought her more often, she'd get a little more used to the situation. And that next week when we did like 3 days and she was good, I was like, okay.
And then like after that, like I said, I've never seen anything like concerning with Roxy after that. So that's pretty good. But for the growling and everything, it's just you can tell she's just like a nervous dog. So like sudden changes or like fast moving objects or like awkward movements kind of set her off. Like it's it sounds funny, but it's like she's kind of like no one told you to go by my rear question. No one told this bike to get fast and you to slow down. So it's just nervous energy with what we actually get from Roxy. So what needs to happen is just letting her know that don't worry about these things. You're on a walk with me. Be more worried about walking next to me the whole way. So it's just like giving her something to do besides be on the lookout for like bikes or like, you know, who's that guy? What is he trying to do? It's like the guy is not doing anything to you. He's simply just passing by. Don't worry. So that's what it sounds like that just needs to happen for Roxy. And then when it's is it like how is she like um on walks with Pepper, or is she still walking by herself with you and your fiance, or just you? Hello, hello.
Just trying to switch to phone.
One
Okay, is
sec.
that good now?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, cool. I was having trouble hearing you, so I switched to audio on my phone.
Oh, okay.
Let me leave this audio 1 second. Okay, that should be good now.
Okay. Where did I leave off?
I try to your question on Pepper. So I try to walk her without Pepper because honestly, she's not very well behaved on walks when we're with Pepper. She pulls. She always wants to be in front. It's not very enjoyable. So I try to walk her alone, and she's very good. We only really walk them together if we're just walking over the park together.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's still kind of the same way when she's with Pepper, or is she different with Pepper besides the pulling and everything?
think she still does it. I'll have to pay attention to that because we don't really do them together much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering like when she does act up, but if it's just with you and Pepper doesn't need to be there, it's technically easier to tackle because then we don't need another dog to like see it happen.
Okay.
So, um, so what else? And then what do you walk Pepper on a flat collar, right? Just a flat regular collar.
For Roxy or for Pepper?
Oh yeah. For Roxy, sorry. I'm gonna.
Yeah, we used to do harness, but she gets so like subdued and like hates the harness so much, and she doesn't pull anymore. So we've just been doing the collar.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. And then you are aware of like, so were you interested in like, like doing the e-collar training or just kind of tackling this, or what were you, looking for?
I mean, I kind of just want to get, I guess, guidance on, based on what you're hearing, what you think are the best options for her, because obviously we haven't dealt with this before, and we want to nip it in the bud so she doesn't have to cause all this, or we don't cause either the stress and anxiety in her if it's not needed.
Yeah. So for e-collar, the way it would work for a dog like Roxy would be letting her know you don't do that without confronting her. So a lot of times owners will ask, how do I say? Because confronting a dog when they're doing something wrong, it's uncomfortable. So like let's say let's say we put her on a prong collar and she growled and we get a little leash pop. Well, we're kind of telling it's like confrontational. So she sees the leash connected to you and the prong, and she knows you're doing that. So a dog like Roxy will I know she's kind of soft. She's like a soft dog, so she might be like whoa and be like a little overwhelmed and might be too much, too physical, and then like and but you're correcting me because I'm scared. So then should I be scared? Because it gets a little confusing in that way. So with e-collar, it's non-confrontational. Roxy won't know you're correcting her for these behaviors or even using the remote in general. Dogs actually just think it's just the universe happening. It's just something is happening. They don't know what it is, but it's obviously our job to teach them what it is. But they'll never know that since you have the remote in your hand, that's where it's coming from.
Got it.
So it makes a lot of things easier. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to say leave it, or do any pulling or leash yanking, because it's just simply a press of a button. Just don't do that. So we had a dog come for a board and train. They used to go to another daycare, and they started snapping at the dogs. And this dog used to be super playful. The reason that dog started snapping was just because they were overwhelmed. So that dog played, and then the dog wanted to stop playing. They were just like, I'm done. But then since their daycare had no structure and it was play all day, the dogs play all day. Except this one dog didn't want to play, and she had an off, so she knew that I was like, all right, I'm done playing. I'm gonna rest. But these dogs kept bothering her, so then she started snapping at them, and then she realized, oh, if I start snapping at these dogs, they leave me alone. And then she kept continuing that habit, snap. Then they're like, we can't have your dog here. The dog's aggressive. Dog wasn't aggressive. It was just, it's just a nature thing. So then dog comes here, immediately just starts snapping at all the dogs. Obviously, in a more structured way, we're introducing dogs like one at a time, but we see it happen. E-collar's on, we are correcting these behaviors. Then once she's like, oh, okay, I can't snap. All right, well, if I can't snap, then who is this dog? Who is this dog trying to smell me? Then curiosity kicks in, and they're like, oh, we're trying to play. Okay. And then ever since then, they're regular at our daycare, and we don't have any issues. So the e-collar is just kind of like telling them, don't do that. So how it would work for Roxy would just teaching her our heel command. Heel is walk with me, stay with me, sit when I stop. So if you take 5 steps with Roxy, Roxy takes 5 steps. If you take 10, Roxy will take 10. If you come to a stop, Roxy will automatically sit at your left side, right shoulder, pillow of your left leg, loose leash in any environment. So it's a very strict command. So strict that the idea is that nothing else should matter except you. So then see because human aggression or human reactivity is usually the first thing to go away once we teach this command. We don't need to address it. It just goes away. Now the dogs and other like bikes and everything are like this spectrum. So those are like the next things that that kind of might need to be addressed separately or just over time, throughout the program we're going through. We'll have to like kind of see how that plays out. But usually humans go away first. Calm dogs, rollerbladers, scooters, skateboards, reactive dogs, and then you turn the corner and then there's a dog. So that's like how it kind of goes with like the dog reactivity and everything like that. So again, I think eCol would be great for you. It give you less, how do I say? It take a lot of stress away from you because it's super easy. You just press a button when you disagree or something, and it's not only for bad things. So a lot of we're not slapping the collar on like do something bad, we'll correct you. That's not how it works. We need a teacher that you, Roxy, are in control of the e-collar. You decide when it turns on, you decide when it turns off. Once she figures that out, then we can start addressing behaviors. Any questions so far?
Do you ever have dogs that react adversely to e-collars? Like it just totally freaks them out and it, I don't know, backfires, or it's just like a gentle nudge where it's just like, oh, that's uncomfortable and it's always fine?
Yeah, so I should what's it called? The technology behind the e-collar. So have you ever been to a physical therapist?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had like TENS unit or like the stim?
Yes.
That's e-collar. So it's just a little muscle contractor. It's just a little like tickle. So the way a therapist would go about it with their clients is let me know, like they'll keep increasing the number to like let the machine do its work. Let me know when it's too high or too uncomfortable. Client will let them know, okay, 2 levels down or a few levels down, then they let the machine do its work. That's very similar to how we do e-collar. I don't know what Roxy's number is going to be because our brand we use is called Dogtra. Dogtra has 127 levels. So 0, 1, 2, 5, 120.
Wow.
There are other brands out there that go up to 10. So think of the power outage of 10 equal to 127. We just have so many more numbers to be more specific to the dog's personality, the breed, the scenario we're in. We can be very specific. So the issue with a 10 level e-collar is, all right, 5, Roxy is yelping. It is too much. 4, too little. Roxy is not reacting. She doesn't know what's happening. She doesn't know it's happening. So then they're stuck. For us, if, I don't know, 40 is too low, 50 is too high, well, we can go to 45 or 43 or 46. We can be very specific. But like I said, I don't know what her number is going to be. We're obviously not looking for freak out, yelping, or anything like that. All we're looking for is a simple response of, okay, what was that? That's all we're looking for. And then have we had dogs kind of freak out with the feeling? The most we've seen is like surprise. It's like the first time we do it, they kind of like, whoa, what was that? And then after that, at like first lesson, it'll happen. Then we start working, and then they're like, oh, I know what's going on. It's nothing.
Okay.
It catches them off guard because they're not expecting it. That's the most we've seen. The other times we've seen issues, it was when dogs have like serious like aggression issues, like they feel this, and they're more like these type of dogs are more of like they don't want to be told what to do, and if you try maneuvering them or forcing them to do something, they'll result in attack mode or like fight you back. I don't perceive that will be happening with Roxy. She's not that type of dog. So it's more like those bully type breeds or like those bully type dogs who've always gotten away with certain things, and then the day you try to make something happen, they're like, yeah, right. You've let me do this for 3 years, and then now you're gonna address me. It's not gonna happen. Then that's when you see some, like, protest behavior. But even then, if that happens, we're still able to get the job done and everything. It's never been an issue.
Yeah.
Like
Especially because
we've there are some dogs who like feel the energy in the room and they're like, I don't like this. Like I want to get away from it. So that's probably what's happened. Um, but even then, like just it just saves energy. So like if you see something Roxy's doing, and you're like, hey, you don't need to do that anymore. It just be press of the button, and it's calm. It's very easy and simple, and dogs understand it, right? Because e-collar is physicality. It's a physical touch. So dogs thrive on physicality. Roxy, when she's like, I don't like this dog, snap, right? It's their language. It's how they talk to each other. So if we're snapping back at Roxy, she understands. Oh, I don't do that. Okay. So that's why it's they understand it very quickly and easily, and that's why we get so much progress um, with our programs and the e-car and the way we teach it.
So it's more of a like reactive thing versus a preventative thing, because obviously you're triggering it after she does something you don't want her to do to then correct it.
So there's a few ways to go about it. There is preventative, and then there's like intervention. I think that's the other word. So like if we see, so we'll teach Roxy what e-car is first. Then let's say we're on a walk and then Roxy's like locked down, like stalking this guy or like stalking a bike, right? Usually owners will wait till the blow up happens or the lunge to correct it, which is incorrect. That's more harder to kind of bring Roxy back down. So we would actually address the staring and preventative about it and stop it before thinking about it. So we're going to be correcting the thought of it. So then when she sees a bike, she starts thinking about it. She knows, oh, don't think that, because then I get this. I don't like it. That's like the first step of like, it's called avoidance. You'll start to see Roxy like look away from the bikes, right? We're not correcting her for looking at the bikes. We're correcting for stalking at the bikes and thinking of lunging or doing her thing. Does that answer your question?
Yes, totally.
Okay. What else?
Do you think that there's something that has like triggered this? Does this happen with dogs at certain age, or like if they, obviously she's a rescue, so it was maybe a year-ish, maybe a little less after we got her, maybe because we moved. She will be 2 at the end of October.
2 at the end of October, and then you moved when?
We moved. I wish I had like noted when we first recognized this, but actually no, it was probably after we moved, or like a little bit after. But we moved from West Loop to Old Town like late August, early September. So my fiance went to business school, so we're doing long distance, and I moved in with my sister, who was like Roxy's second mom. So it's just been us, and then Andrew here and there, and then for the whole summer. And then we didn't get Pepper until like maybe March or April.
Yeah. So usually when a dog is growing up, at 6 months to a year or two, maybe I don't want to say 2 years, but like a year, maybe like a little over a year is when the brain will start to change and they'll become who they are. But since she's 2 years already, it could be she got really comfortable with herself and where she's at in her life view, that maybe she's starting to open up and become, show her maybe her true colors. That could be it. Or maybe the fact that maybe Pepper entering the life. I mean, no, she doesn't live with Pepper, right?
She does, but she started like showcasing this behavior before, and like we weren't sure what to expect when we brought Pepper home, but they're so good. Like she doesn't exemplify that behavior with her at all. So I didn't know if there like what would have initially caused it.
It could be, yeah, it could be a few of those things, but can't really think of like of when or how, just because I don't know when it first started. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the bike stuff, it's just because if you start with the harness, then you move to the flat collar. Because the reason why these things happen like with the harness is because harnesses provide negative pressure here. So dogs have what's called opposition reflex. So if you pull back, they pull forward. If you pull left, they pull right. If you pull back, they pull forward, or they don't want to move. Or if you pull forward, they pull back. So that can start to turn into reactivity because it's frustrating. So when they see a dog and then you pull your dog away from that dog, they're like, "Wow, that was annoying." This feeling only happens when I see dogs, people, bikes, or anything like that. So I hate these things because I get this feeling every time I see them. So that could be an issue. But you don't use the harness; you use the flat collar. Um,
Now we do. I mean, we were using the harness for a while. So,
how often do you like? What does life look like with Roxy?
um, she wakes up very excited to seize the day. She's very much a morning dog. She's so blissful. Happy, excited to eat. And now that she's a little bit older, she definitely burrows in her bed. She likes to she's like a sort of womb sort of bed where she can nestle into it. She loves that. That's like her security blanket. Her and Pepper will play any chance they get. And then obviously I'll take her for walks and or playtime. She used to snuggle all the time, but I think now that it's a different dynamic with Pepper and she got this amazing bed, she's more interested in her bed. But if she comes into our bed, she will nestle as close to you as possible. So that's kind of her day.
Because it could be a few things. When we start to hear these things happen, is because there there needs to be a balance of discipline and like freedom. So another reason why the ECOG would help is because we're adding discipline in their language, the way they understand in life. So dogs who become snappy are um, how to say not getting enough structured walks. So these walks, they're so structured that it's mentally exhausting because they need to be focused to be here, and we're giving them a job to do. So as we are applying discipline to them, it becomes balance. So the playtime, the snuggling, um, the free walks and everything will become balanced once we include discipline with the e-collar. So right now it's kind of like this, I can see, right? But she's a soft dog, so we're not too rough with her. But then once we start to include this discipline here, she might realize, oh, this is not my world. I just
That makes sense.
need to respect everything. So that could be a thing. We've had issues where kind of too much freedom because what you practice with your dog is what your dog becomes. I think Cesar Milan has said that before. So like if you practice a lot of freedom, a lot of playtime, a lot of no rules, no boundaries, that's what your dog becomes. Now, if you do a lot of discipline and structure, your dog becomes more of a disciplined, structured dog. Like with children,
Okay.
parents, you're supposed to give curfews, be very strict with children. You know, just like the way you raise your child, right? So if a parent just like, I'm gonna be out, okay, we'll come back at a certain time, and they're like, no, and they're like, well, okay, I can't make you. Then that stuff starts to happen. Then you get
Yeah.
a spoiled child and everything like that. So with the e-collar, I think it'd be great because again, you're adding discipline and structure to Roxy's life. Um, because she's unsure about a lot of things and doesn't know what to do. Once we give her a job, it's almost like dogs will be like, oh, that's all I have to do. And then they'll start to realize that, not everything needs to be something to worry about. Um, and that all this playtime and fun, it's good to have, but then I also have my structured walks where I need to be disciplined. So then, it's a balance in Roxy's life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and like I'm sure it's probably compounded by the fact that she's a high energy dog and like she could use way more exercise than I feel like she never gets tired. She's like always wants to keep going.
That's another thing too. Like owners will say, I take my dog for like so many walks throughout the day. I come home and then my dog just gets the zoomies, or they're running around. They want to play more and more and more. So it's like I don't know what's going wrong. What's going on? Like my dog has so much energy. It's called overstimulation, and it kind of ties in with having a job. So if the dog is just working and they're like looking everywhere, they're excited. They come home, they're still excited. Physically, they might be exercising, but mentally they're not. So with the training we do with the heel and everything, like I said before, mentally it's exercising and it's exhausting. So usually once we start e-cow training with clients and everything, like the dog goes home like from a 30-minute walk and the dog is tanked out. They're really tired and they're calm about it. So the e-cow will be able to fix that, and that's just a little bit of overstimulation. Sounds like that's what it is, which can also be addressed as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Any other questions?
Not on that piece, but maybe if we move to the other ones that I brought up towards the start, does that work?
I'm sorry?
The other like concerns I had brought up about like Pepper and how she's submissive and patient at home, but obsessed with her at the park and sort of like bullies her.
Yeah, it could just be she recognizes kind of like the right time, right place, kind of saying, quote, so dogs when how do I say? So dogs on walks when they're reactive at other dogs, but then you take them to like daycare or a dog park and then they're fine, is because they recognize it's a social setting. It's like, oh, this is not my home. There's a lot of dogs here. This is a social area. So then they become more understanding of like, okay, I can't do certain things because it's not my place. So when she's being submissive, it could just be like, maybe she's not used to playing indoors or like in home like that, or maybe she's just not, you know, understanding the energy in that moment. But then when you take her to a dog park where a lot of dogs are playing, everything's playing, she's like, oh yeah, I like this, and then she'll play. She's in the mood. So
but like she only cares about Pepper. She just like locks in on Pepper and like runs her over. Literally, she will bulldoze her from across the park.
Yeah, like my dog doesn't play with dogs inside like homes. Like here at daycare, she never wanted to play. Like every time dog would want to play with her, she was like, no, no, no. Only outside she'd play because she knows she feels more free and open outside. But then like the more like I said before, like the more I bring her here, the more she's like, oh okay, like let me see what's going on with these dogs. And then she started to open up and become more playful with the dogs. So it just could be the setting and the environment. She just could she's just changing. And then the fact that she likes to play with Pepper is just
yeah.
like,
and like how do we stop that from her like almost picking on her and like locking in on Pepper, being like, I have to control you.
Yeah, so if we're using e-collar, be very easy. Um, e-collar wouldn't be used to, because what she's doing, she's in a mindset of rough play. She's not doing anything bad. So it'd just be using the e-collar to kind of stop that behavior, but that is something we can use. And it's very easy, very non-confrontational. You don't need to get in there. You don't need to say anything. It's just, because we use it here at the daycare. So dogs who are trained by us um, are collared up, and if we see any mounting issues, we can correct that, and they just stop. You know, mounting, rough play. If we see a dog playing rough, we address it with the e-collar. They chill out, and we're not saying don't play. We're just saying just chill out. That's all. Um, what else? And sometimes owners who don't have any issues, or if the dog doesn't have any issues in the playpen, the play area, they'll still ask us, please put the collar on them. You don't have to use it. If you have to use it, you can use it. But my goal is just to have the collar on and have my dog associate playtime and have the collar on. So it's like, oh, this isn't only for discipline. I can play with this. So it's just to balance everything out with the e-collar itself. But for your question of why, how do we stop her just locking in on Pepper and kind of calming everything down. Hey, sorry, it just we just use the e-collar for that as well.
Okay, got it.
Anything else?
How do you know, like, because there's a certain level, right, of where a dog will, like, maybe bare their teeth or snarl or show these things as warning signs to other dogs that they should show, right? Like, how do you know when it's the right point to interject in that process? Because the other dogs at some point need to learn a lesson too if they're like doing something they shouldn't, or how do you sort of manage that?
Yeah. So at the dog part's a little difficult just because we don't know these dogs. These aren't our dogs. And although it is natural for dogs to correct other dogs, um, we just can't have dogs like, getting bit or getting in a fight. But it's nature. So here at our daycare, a dog came out to another dog, and it can just be super easy, just like let that dog correct that dog, and it's done, right? But then that dog's gonna go home with a scratch, and you're like, what happened to my dog? You're supposed to care for these dogs. So it's our job to kind of play our part in as that vouch for the other dog and just make sure everyone's respecting each other's boundaries. But let's say you're on a walk and like an off-leash dog comes at you. I'm not going to correct personally. I'm not going to correct my dog for anything that I see that's aggressive. Because if this dog is off leash, no owner around, I don't know who this dog is. And if anything, I want my dog to be able to defend themselves and just kind of, if there's a fight, I'm going to stay out of it. I'll do my best to kind of address the other dog, but I'm going to let my dog do her thing. But it's like going back to the dog park, since we don't know these other dogs, yes, we can let Roxy do it, but then how is that dog going to take it? Sometimes dogs don't understand it or don't have, how to say it. Sometimes dogs go overboard. So if a dog gets corrected, and then let's say Roxy corrects a dog, and then let's say that it's valid, like that dog was mounting Roxy, Roxy corrected, but then this dog's like, no, you don't correct me, and then they correct back. Then you have a fight. Right? Usually dogs take corrections very well. They're like, okay, don't do it. Or if if a dog is getting uncomfortable, they snap, they do the correction. It should be one and done. Sometimes dogs snap, and they go overboard to the point where it's like, dude, like it's the dog just going overboard. So it's just kind of like looking at the other dog, and then if you see, Roxy's is kind of getting cornered by this dog, I just, do your best in this situation to get her leashed up and just kind of body block yourself with this dog. And then I'd still correct certain things just so that Roxy doesn't end up snapping at this dog, to the point where it can trigger something to happen from this dog to Roxy. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's
And
why.
then the last part was the jumping up and trying to kiss people. She always goes for the no.
Yeah.
Like I will be like, like no jump.
For the
And
dogs
you
or
know,
humans?
what was that? Human.
Oh, humans. Okay. So
Love human.
yeah. It ties into the heel in a way, but if you're not in like command or anything, and she just like, let's say, let's say this will tie into my other kind of part I'll talk about with e-collar, but uh, if a guest is coming over and you know she gets really jumpy and everything, 30 minutes prior, you collar her up, and then guest enters, address whatever that is needing to be addressed. After that, if you find that Roxy's pretty much settled throughout the night, you can take the e-collar off. Or if you know she might get excited again, you can keep it on, address whatever that's needing to be addressed. Now, there's a specific way we kind of go about it to clarify and to have her understand that you don't jump and lick people. And because sometimes dogs, when you start correcting behaviors and everything, they associate the correction with the person, not the behavior. So there's a specific way to teach it and kind of clarify to the dog that it's the jumping, not me or the person, that you should be kind of giving space for. Um, does that answer your question?
So you said they sometimes associate it with the person, not the behavior, but you want to make sure it's with the behavior.
Yes.
Okay.
But there's a specific way we teach it. What else? But yeah. That leads me to like my next thing. Unless, do you have any other questions?
I don't think so. I assume your next is going to be about like what you recommend training wise and e-collar and frequency and all that stuff.
Yeah. There's a few more questions, common questions owners have with the e-collar. I'll run through really quick, and then we can move on to like programs and everything like that.
Perfect.
So one common question, which kind of tied into like the jumping, and like my answer was, um, when does the e-collar come off? When do I need it on? Or like, is it on every day, or after training, do I still need it, or how does that work? So the e-collar is on when you need it. So if you're going on a walk, it's most likely going to be on, just because we can't predict what's going to happen after this walk. And this is after training as well. It's like a forever thing. So let's say we're walking on a busy street and a car crash happens, like a car accident. You get freaked out. Roxy gets freaked out. Maybe she decides to book it. And since you're freaked out, maybe the leash slipped out your hand. Or we've heard stories where like dogs run and then the owner gets pulled to the ground and the dog's gone. So in that moment, nothing like voice wise will bring Roxy back because she's in flight mode. So when dogs are in flight mode, they're thinking kill or be killed. So what's needed to override the brain of flight mode is power, that's where the e-collar comes into play, to override the brain in that moment, to make your dog come back to you. Let's say in the home right now, she's just kind of hanging out, just chilling, she's like an angel, then you don't need it. And then back to like guests. If you know you're gonna have guests come over, she's very jumpy, 30 minutes prior, call her up, address whatever is needing to be addressed. And then depending how the night goes and how you feel and how comfortable you are, you can keep it on or you can take it off. And then, like I said, e-collar should be on your walks just because we can't predict what's gonna happen. Now you shouldn't be pressing that button all the time because me and Jesse will say this to his clients. Our dogs are obviously already done training and everything. Well, no one's ever done training, but we did all the hard work in the beginning, all the hard work. So now we're at the point where we press the button like once a month or 2 times a month, maybe at the most. But it's there just in case. And those were all just for emergencies. You shouldn't be pressing it all the time. Like I said, that's all in the beginning. We're doing all the hard work. Then we get to the point where like, okay, she knows what it is. We done our hard work. It's there just in case something happens. Does that make sense?
Yep.
What else? So program wise, we do have the one-on-one, the in-person, where we meet at Oz Park. 1 hour a week. So we
Okay.
have a 6-week program, the 9-week program, and the 12-week. Um, think of a 6-week program like you walk Roxy around the block. It's structured, no reactivity, very calm walk, and relaxing, and loose leash and everything. You go to the dog park, you need recall, and then you go home. That's the 6-week. Then the 9-week is, you walk your dog around the block, or like, you go for your walk structured and everything. You go to the dog park, you need recall. But then you also go to outdoor patios and you need Roxy to lay down and not move for an hour or 2 hours. 12-week program is all of those things, but then you go off leash hiking like maybe like every other weekend. So you need all of the commands, off leash reliability, and just like more fancier emergency commands in case because there's obviously like deers and coyotes out in the woods and everything. So those are how our programs are laid out, and like how we kind of tell our clients, like for me, for what I'm hearing, sounds like you're just looking for. I mean, like it sounds like the 6-week program would be good for you and Roxy. But if you're looking for more control and more commands, it'd probably be the 9-week, and then obviously unless you're wanting to go on hikes and everything, then the 12-week. So it's just depending on what you're looking for, like obedience wise, like how much control. But like I said before, like 6 weeks sounds kind of perfect for you and Roxy.
Okay.
Any questions about the in-person program?
So you said 1-on-1 for 1 hour. So it's basically 6 hours of 1-on-1 training over the course of 6 weeks.
Yes, and they're all at Oz Park. The reason why we operate at Oz Park is because everything is there. So like bikes, dogs, rollerblades.
We live somewhat close to it, so.
So everything is there. So we like to train there, just so we can see everything happen. So, for example, Sundays, 1 p.m. 6 times +1. So that +1 is just in case it rains or life happens, in case you have to cancel. You have a slot available for you if you need to cancel. Once you've used that +1, then you'll have to wait for more availability and to hop back on the calendar.
Okay.
Any other questions about the in-person program?
I don't think so. So you start it from scratch there, or do you start to introduce things at daycare and then recommend starting there, or do you think?
No, the in-person program is just like one program. Like it's just like we meet.
Okay.
And that's
all.
One-off.
Is your board and train stuff more for other things that people need to work on, or dogs need to work on?
No, I mean for Roxy, so there's pros and cons to these programs. So the pros and cons for in-person is you do it's hands off for us. We don't touch the dogs. You're doing all the work, so you're learning how,
Oh, got it. So I'm there with you. Okay.
Yes. Yes. So
got it.
So yeah, we meet at Oz Park together.
Okay.
And then I coach you through everything, or Jesse, whoever you want to work with. We coach you through everything. You're learning how, to teach commands, how to fix commands, how to address the reactivity of the bikes coming by. You learn all these things, and we're coaching you there with you. Now, the con is it takes longer. But the pros is you're doing all the hard work, you're doing it all yourself. Now, the board and train and daycare and train, so board and train, we have like the 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, and 4 week program. Think of the 4 week program equal to the 12-week program for in-person. So on. Hello?
Yep, I'm here.
And then like the 2 week would be like the 6 week, and then the 4 week would be, the 3 week would be the 9 week. Pros and cons is we get it done faster, obviously. Everything is recorded for you, so you're getting videos of me teaching heel, stay, sit, down, place, and the come and call. So all 6 commands. We'll be taking her to like Home Depot, PetSmart, training walks and everything. Kind of seeing like where her reactivity's at, and like kind of addressing the behaviors. Cons and would be you're kind of not seeing certain things that might happen that maybe like we're doing a lesson because we're only filming the introductory sessions, like the foundation, like me teaching the commands for the first time. And then if you do the 2-week program, for every week you get another video. So like the 2-week program, you get like the long leash video of like us working here on the 30-foot long leash. But we don't record our training walks, unfortunately. So if she does have a moment, you're not seeing how we're kind of addressing it.
Okay.
And in the beginning, the training will be tied to us. So that's where we get our follow-up lessons. So like the 2-week program, I think you get 4 hours of follow-up. I gotta track again. But those follow-up lessons take place at Oz Park, and we're kind of just teaching you what she's learned, and then from your videos, you're already having some knowledge about this command, so then we can get like right into it and everything. And then what else?
Okay.
And then
so based on everything you're hearing, you think the one-on-one 6-hour program is the best thing for Roxy?
Yeah, it also kind of depends on like your availability. So like if you have like the time to meet every week at the same time, 6 times, I we always recommend in person, right? Just because again.
Yeah, I mean, this is a priority for me, so I'll definitely. Andrew's back. My fiance's back at school in Michigan, so if he's in town for any event, I'll be here. But I definitely can make that a priority.
Yeah.
Do you send? I guess my questions are pricing and then like availability to schedule. I assume you follow up with that info, or?
Yeah. So after this consultation, the new admin, Tina, will be reaching out to you, sending you a follow-up email of the programs we talked about. So in the email, she'll have like the 6-week. She'll also include the 9-week and the 12-week, just so you can see the prices and everything in case you want more control or anything like that, in case anything changes. So programs we talked about for in-person. Prices, the e-collar I recommend for Roxy. So there's a few different models out there for the brand Dogtra. She'll also include a link to Amazon for you to purchase it, or you can purchase it through us, same price and all. If you purchase it through us and there's any malfunctions or anything wrong with the collar, within 30 days, you can give back to us. We'll borrow you a collar, and then we'll also deal with Dogtra and get you a new one. After those 30 days, you'll have to actually contact Dogtra yourself.
Okay.
She'll also include a form. Oh no, Yuri did it. So the form would have been the agreement form, but you already did it if you did Ginger and everything. So you've already signed the agreement. So technically, we can go straight into billing and the booking process whenever you're ready. She'll also with the prices and everything. She'll also include payment plans so you can see how that looks and everything. And then for availability, I don't know the calendar. Tina knows the calendar, so she'll let you know, and we work with your availability.
Okay, but I'd be working with you.
Yeah, it's up to you. My clients are usually like the reactivity ones, separation anxiety, anxiety in general, or just like basic obedience. Jesse usually does like the serious like aggressions and human aggression, dog aggression type stuff. But yeah, we can work together if you'd like.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else?
This is random, but since my fiance wasn't able to join tonight, is there any way I can get the recording too, so I can share it with him, so I don't have to try to voice over this whole conversation with him?
Yes, of course.
Awesome.
Thank you. Send it to you once this is available.
Great. Thank you so much.
Anything else?
I don't think so. No, I think I'm good.
Okay. I don't think I missed anything. And then just a heads up, Tina is new, so if you could just have some some patience with her. She's still trying to figure out a few things.
No worries. I know you guys are short staffed, so I appreciate you fitting me in so quickly.
Of course. Trying to think if there's anything else. Were you interested in getting Roxy trained at all, or is it just kind of just up to your sister, or like how does I don't know.
Oh, Pepper?
Oh yeah, Pepper. Sorry, Pepper.
I was like, yeah, we're getting Roxy right now. Yeah, let me talk to her. I know there's a couple things that she wants to work on. So whether that makes sense to do, because I know she needs to get more comfortable at daycare, so she might be more of like a daycare and train type situation. But I'll definitely share all the options with her too, and kind of voice over our conversation also.
Cool. Alrighty. Yeah, you can let her know that I didn't say this in this consultation, but we do train like all types of dogs. So like 6 months, we start e-collar training. If any client is wanting training in general, we do e-collar only after 6 months. We've done 4 months before puppies, and it's a little more nuanced, but we can still it still works out. Deaf dogs, blind dogs. There's a video on our YouTube channel of a dog that was like scared of the world. They didn't want to hop. They didn't want to hop out the car on their consultation because they did a consultation in person. So the dog didn't want to hop out the car. So like a person would view a dog like that and be like, why would shocking a dog make a dog feel better about everything?
Yeah.
But it works. It's builds confidence. We're able to make the dog think that they're making a decision for themselves. So happens, oh, this isn't so bad. So we've done a lot of different types of dogs, and you'll start to we've done like the nervous and timid type of dogs as well, and you'll start to see them like just become more confident as a program goes along and everything like that.
That's awesome.
Cool. So if there's nothing else, or maybe if something comes up, feel free to email me or Tina, letting us know if any questions come up. If maybe if your fiance has any questions, email me the questions he has, and I'll get them and everything like that. But if that is all, yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for the time, and we'll be in touch here soon.
Of course. Alrighty, Amanda.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.